Thanks for joining us today. Today's training is going to be about working open houses and how can they help boost and build your business. So, the first thing I want to say is that it's a misnomer that open houses are going to sell that specific house. Okay. And I try to tell my sellers, we're going to have an open house. We're going to try to get a lot of traffic through there. We're going to hopefully get a lot of feedback and hear what people think about your house. Statistically, it's unlikely one of the visitors at this open house is going to buy your home. However, I am still delighted to host one, and I like to host it the first weekend the house is on the market. Okay, that's when it is top of everybody's hot sheet. Everybody's checking it out on Zillow and Realtor.com, and you're going to have the most traffic the first weekend it's on the market. You're also going to, the second most popular weekend to have it done is right after a price reduction, because it's going to come onto the radar of people who maybe weren't aware of it when it was at the higher price point. I know I'm talking crazy talk right now because we're not seeing any price reductions right now, but I have to talk about every market, not just this one weird market that we're in. So if you are a new agent, one of the fastest ways to start to build your sphere of influence and your database, your client relationship manager database, one of the fastest ways to build that is to work an open house every weekend for a year. Now, I know that sounds exhausting. And there are some weekends, feel free to skip. But if you want to end up with a couple hundred contacts in your database at the end of the year, and these are all absolute strangers you would have never known without doing these open houses, then that is a very effective way to do that. Look at it this way. You can spend $10,000 this year paying for leads, or you can work an open house every weekend. I like the concept of working open houses as new agents for two reasons. One is that you get people in your database that you would not have had otherwise. Those are free leads, if you will. Those are unpaid for. You don't have to pay for those leads except with your time and energy being at the open house. But a byproduct of working these open houses is you get better at communicating. You get better at the back and forth banter of talking about houses. The first few times people asked me about houses while I was working an open house, it was awkward and stiff. And, I wasn't great at it, and I will compare this to my daughter started her first little business her senior year in high school, and she would work these craft shows. And the first 2 or 3 she worked, her conversational skills were awkward. She had never talked to strangers about her stuff before. She'd never talked about her product before. She truly never made small talk or had to figure out how to do salesman type talk before. By her third craft show, she was killing it because she got over that anxiety of talking to strangers about things. So working open houses can really help you become more fluid in your conversational patterns with customers as they come into the house. Also, statistically, most of those people you chat with are probably never going to buy or sell with you. They're probably maybe never going to buy or sell in the next 3 or 4 years. So it's not like you're practicing on someone who you've now ruined your chances of selling them a house. Okay. So these are folks that just love to cruise around on a Sunday and wander through open houses. There are people out there who that is their idea of a fun time on a Sunday. It can be neighbors who have walked down to the open house and come in to look around. No, now those neighbors aren't going to buy that house, but they may know someone who they'd like to have as a neighbor. They may be interested in what amenities this unit has that the unit up the street doesn't have. When I was selling a patio home last year, several of the open houses we had were attended by neighbors who wanted to come see what version of the layout that particular patio home had. And they wanted to see what upgrades that seller had made over the years. And then they wanted to chat with me about their unit. So potentially could lead to another listing, could lead to them knowing a buyer who might want to buy that house. But more importantly, you're getting excellent at talking about real estate. I've been doing it a very long time. There are not very many conversations I have now where I feel anxiety about it, because I have now answered almost every question anyone could ever conceivably ask in an open house, including, has anybody died in this house? Well, now I've answered that question a few times. So that's not going to have me stuttering or getting like, what can I say? What can I not say? So it's just practicing talking to people. So you're practicing talking to people, and you are getting people in your database. And I'm here to tell you that for the first 10 years, I worked open houses and I got all that info, and then I didn't really do anything with it. I may have called them back the following week to see if they had any afterthoughts about the house they saw, but I was not organized. So I did not have a database they were immediately going into. Technology has just gotten so much better, y'all. It is now very inexpensive to have a program like Constant Contact, or even our MLS contact management system, or any of the number of CRM platforms like Realty Juggler, or any of the ones you can use that will help you start dripping emails out to those people. Being able to print out a list of everybody who you put in there in January, and now in February, calling every single one of them. So it has become so much easier to track that. Okay. I would love to tell you that had all that been available to, in my first 10 years, I would have used it. Mostly I was just making it up every day as I went along. So I'm trying to help you guys not flounder and find your way the way I did, because it was such a long learning curve for me. So every time you hold an open house, you're getting all those contacts and you're putting them in a CRM. And you're going to put some notes in there too. Which house did they come look at? Did you have a conversation about cooking, baseball, politics? What'd you guys talk about? It might help sort of trigger your memory again as to that conversation that you had with them, and give you some talking points for the future. Okay, so let's talk about, you're convinced, you're ready to do an open house. You don't have to have a listing to do an open house. I'll tell you, there are agents like me who have worked so many hundreds of open houses in my career, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of open houses in my career. I will gladly invite you to hold an open house on a Saturday or Sunday on one of my listings, so that I could have a rare opportunity to have 2 hours with my kiddos instead. So I'm not saying I don't still need extra business. I do. I have been doing it for a long time now, and I've gotten to that point that we're all trying to reach, where I now pretty much can make my living on referrals and repeat business, because I've stayed in contact with those folks. I still do buy some leads, and I still do work the occasional open house. But until you have your referral machine continuing to churn out additional business for you, then prospecting with open houses can be a very effective, free opportunity to receive leads. I understand it's not completely free. I understand you may be buying bottled water or cookies, and you're spending 3 hours of your life every weekend sitting in that open house. However, when I tell you that people spend $1,000 a month on getting leads, I think you'd rather spend 3 hours every weekend rather than spend $1,000 every month. And I will tell you, the return on investment is better. You are talking to that person with your face in person. You're not calling or texting that lead along with 5 other real estate agents trying to build rapport artificially very quickly on a phone call, right? So the opportunity to turn those folks into actual clients, in my opinion, is much, much higher than paid for leads. We like paid for leads because they don't have that awkward human interaction part. And if that doesn't come naturally to you, there are people like me and Dow in the world who we absolutely love those kind of interactions. We crave them, look for them, seek them out. Exactly. For most people, y'all are not hyper extroverts like me, and I will extend that to Dow as well. So if you're not a naturally an extroverted person who just craves all that social interaction, buying leads can seem very alluring, but there's just not as good of a return on investment on your money. So you're ready to work an open house. You're gonna yes, Dow, please.
Thank you.
Sure.
I am an extrovert. I love people. I just can't help myself, but I love people. Hey, I just want to jump in. I have two questions.
Please.
I had no idea that we do not have to have a listing to do an open house. That means that we can just reach out to our fellow colleagues and say, hey, I would love to help you out. And if they're doing a open house, maybe a Sunday, you could jump in and volunteer to do that a Saturday.
Absolutely. So this past weekend, I had, I had some conflicts both days. So I had wanted to do an open house on my two listings on Sunday. So Angie Draper and Jonathan Rose worked one for me, and Daniela and Jamie Jetmar worked the other listing for me for an open house, and they worked together for safety, and they worked together to hold the house open. And what I did for them is all the things I'm about to list as to what would be important to do in preparation for an open house. So I actually did all of that for them. I even went on Canva and made a flyer for them to hand out at the open house, and I branded it to them. So it had the house on there, the price, the dates for the open house and the times, and they were able to share that on Facebook and have folks share that and hand that flyer out during the open house, and it was branded to them. So they were there working that open house in lieu of me. But any buyer, the deal I make with them, and this is very common, is I'm going to pay for the advertising. I'm going to get it all out there and try to drive traffic to the open house. But any buyer who comes in who is unrepresented, they may work as a client, and I don't receive any referral fee for that or anything. That's the sort of symbiotic relationship there. Miki, I want to let you, and Dow, I know you have one more question. Did you want to do that before I go to Miki and then to Rhonda?
No, jump to Rhonda and I'll jump back because now I have two questions.
Okay. Well, first I'll go to Miki, and then I'll come back to, and then I'll go to Rhonda, and then I'll come back to you, Dow. Hang on 1 second.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, yes, ma'am.
I had a question about, as you know, I'm doing an open house this Saturday.
Yes.
About including the price. You mentioned including the price on the flyer. Is that something you should do?
You don't have to.
Okay. Is that a good idea though?
There are two schools of thought on that.
Okay.
I sometimes do, and I sometimes don't.
Okay.
Because I want to get clicks. I want people looking and clicking on that post and engaging with that post. If I feel like the house is a price point that may not be accessible for a lot of people, I may not be putting the price point on there because I want engagement. I'm not just looking for a buyer. I'm looking for engagement about my post. So if I've got a $850,000 listing in Roanoke, that's out of the price point for most people who live in Roanoke.
Right.
So I may not put that, it's out of the price point for me. So I may not put that price on that post because I'm looking for people to be chattering in the comments section about that amazing kitchen. Can you believe the size of that shower? I'm just looking for engagement because I'm then warming all those people up to potentially be in my sphere of influence, right?
Right.
So if I put the price point, maybe nobody says anything.
Okay.
But if it's at an accessible price point or a price point that I think has a very broad audience, then I'm maybe really hunting for the actual buyer. and I'm going to put the price point on there. And again, that's not science, that's the art of real estate.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong way to do it. And I certainly have done it different ways over the years.
Okay.
So I think it's a personal choice.
Okay.
I don't think there's a bad answer there. And
Okay.
then, thank you, Miki. And then
Thank
Rhonda,
you.
yeah, Rhonda, did you have a question? I'm going to need to unmute you, Rhonda. Hang on one sec. Still can't hear you. You want to try one more time? It doesn't seem to be unmuting you. Let me see if I can ask you to unmute.
There we go. How about
Yay.
that?
Okay.
Yay.
Yes.
Sorry. I just want to let everybody know that this tactic is effective because I did an open house for Edna on Saturday and I already have a lead.
Yay.
Yeah. And I've already been in communication with these people and hopefully it'll pan out. But I would have loved to have had this last week before I did the open house. But I also felt like the feedback sheet that you emailed us would have been perfect to have so that I could have gotten their feedback for Edna because she asked for that, but I really didn't have anything from the customers who came.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it is effective and I'm willing to do more open houses at the lake, by the way.
Yay. Okay, great. No, it really is. And I know it sounds like a trick to get y'all to do the more seasoned agents work for them. I swear it's not. It really, really is a symbiotic relationship there where these seasoned agents, man, they finally maybe get a Sunday afternoon off for once. And you guys get all those unrepresented buyers who come in. It is a crapshoot. You know, it may be one person comes through, or it may be 10 people come through. And of the 2 open houses that I had agents hold for me this past Sunday, one had a ton of traffic and one only had 4 groups come through. That's another part of the art of it. You're never really going to discern. We're going to talk about what properties are good for doing open houses, but you will truly never know. If there's a kite festival going on in town that day, don't have an open house. You know, if there's a huge event going on at the Civic Center, don't have an open house. You know, do the Sunday instead of the Saturday. So big events, if it's a Virginia Tech football game day, forget about it. You know, there are going to be things to consider when you're choosing the day and the property. Thank you for sharing, Rhonda. That was encouraging.
You're welcome.
All right, Dow, did you have something else to ask or add?
Yes, I want to volunteer to work any of your open houses.
Okay, great.
Plug me in. With regards to that, I was wanting to find out how we find out who has open houses scheduled, and then how do we get our name out there to let the seasoned reps know that we need bones and I'll run to open houses. Okay. So
I'm going to absolutely cover that here in the next couple of minutes so that you guys will be experts.
Okay,
so actually,
yay.
Jamie has a comment in the chat window.
Oh yeah, let me see. And Jamie says, to get more unrepresented buyers, do we have ability to put open house signs with broker name further from the property to pull in people who aren't aware of the open house from internet sites? Yes. And I'm going to go into that as well about the municipality's rules on that. And we have slowly watched our open house bifold signs that we let folks borrow dwindle down. I don't know, they get eaten up into the atmosphere or something. Sometimes they just don't come back. So I have it on my to-do list today to talk to Jennifer about us ordering some more of those for loaning out. And yes, Jamie, I will absolutely answer that here in just a moment. And I'm also going to share my screen with you guys today so that you can see how to register an open house. Okay, so let's talk about how to select the home to hold open. I will caution you not to hold an open house at a house where it is 5 cul-de-sacs deep into a cul-de-sac somewhere. If it is not a highly trafficked area, if it is very, very rural, these are not homes that are probably going to see a lot of traffic. Now, the argument can be made that even if one person shows up to a very rural home, they're potentially probably the buyer for that house. Because if you're having to go out of your way to go to an open house, There's a reason you're going there. Instead, try to pick a house that is very fresh to the market. The first weekend it's on the market would be ideal. So a good place to find those is look at the coming soon listings that are coming on the market in the future, and just reach out to that agent and say, hey, could I help you out by hosting an open house the first weekend that's on the market? And they may say, nope, sorry, that's what I do. I do that every first weekend of my listing. Oh, that's fine. That's obviously their prerogative. They don't have to let you hold an open house on their listing, but a lot of agents will jump at the opportunity to do that. And you'll see in our Facebook group, private group for Wainwright agents, there oftentimes are agents on there saying, hey, I'd love to hold an open house this weekend. Who has a listing they might like to have me hold open? I'm going to tell you guys, don't jump at the first opportunity that is given to you. It may be a house in a very rural area. It may be a house that just is not going to be an open house, high traffic opportunity. So if it's a house that is hard to get to, or you just don't think people are going to visit it, if you have trouble finding it, if it's one of those that can't be on on GPS, don't do an open house on that house. Politely decline the offer and then keep looking for an open house to hold open. Please know ahead of time, you're going to hold an open house sometime and no one's going to show up. And I have had to deliver that depressing news to the seller, but even that says something. Okay. That says it either was a bad day, or we're priced too high, or we didn't market it well enough. So let's talk about what steps are needed for working an open house for another agent. You're going to have to be in step with the actual listing agent. They need to give you permission to do it. They need to run it all by the seller to make sure it's fine. And then the listing agent is the one who is going to register the open house on MLS. So they use the MLS number and they register that open house on the MLS. You want to make sure they are doing that the Wednesday or Thursday beforehand. We are lucky that Zillow and Realtor.com are pulling our data every 15 minutes or so. So it goes on to, it feeds on to Zillow and Realtor.com very quickly, but it originates from MLS. So I'm going to share my screen for a moment and show you how to do this. So when we go to MLS, let me get logged back in here real quick. I can register this MLS two different ways. I can go to menu and I can go down here to daily functions and go to luncheon open houses. And then I can go down here and say, add an open house. And I'm going to click add. Oh, look, here's Miki's. Miki's is already on there, registered for this weekend. So I'm going to click add, and I'm going to put in the MLS number, whether it's in person or live stream. And then when I click next, it's going to go on to give me, let's see if I can do a listing that isn't mine. Let's just see. Nope, listing does not exist, or you do not have permission to add an event. So this is why the listing agent has to be the one to put that on there. So once I put the MLS number on there and I click in person and click next, it's going to say who is hosting it and their contact phone number. And there's even a spot for some special notes. I'm also able to put in the day and the time frame. So when I registered those ones last week for Sunday, I put in Jamie Jetmar and her phone number instead of me. So that way she would be receiving any phone calls that may have been coming in on that open house. Another way to do this is to go to your active listings as the listing agent. When they go to their active listings, this is my active listing, I'm going to click this upside down triangle here. And I'm going to go to edit listing. And over here on the right, I can click open house to schedule a marketing activity. That's the other way I can do that. So once the listing agent has done that, then I'm going to ask the listing agent to make a post about the upcoming open house. Now, what I would probably do if I were the agent wanting to hold the open house, like Miki wants to hold this open house on Saturday. She went ahead and in Canva made herself an open house flyer. And then it gets shared on MLS, shared on MLS, then posted on Facebook. And when you make a post on Facebook, there'll be the option on your business page, if you post it on your business page, to boost it. So I always boost it for 3 days, and I boost it for $25. I could boost it for more money, but I just found that that's what is in my budget. I'm willing to budget $25 for boosting a Facebook post. Now, one tip I'll give you is set up this ad sooner than you need it. So when I put this on here, this goes live immediately. But when I chose to boost it, and Miki asked me to boost this for her, she doesn't have her Facebook business page set up yet. So I went ahead and put it on and shared it and boosted it for her. But when I clicked boost, and I'm going to set up a little tiny short, little fast YouTube video showing you guys how to do the boost, because you have to do a couple of steps to make sure it actually gets approved. That I did this last night. It took until this morning sometime to get through the review process and actually go live. So you don't want to be doing this Saturday morning for a Saturday open house, because it can sometimes take up to 12 hours for Facebook to review and approve the post. And I'll say it used to be a little trickier to do it, and sometimes mine would get declined. So they would fail the review process, and I'd have to go in and tweak it and make it, they figured it out now. But sometimes it would get declined and I would have to scramble and try to get it back on again. So go ahead and do this sooner rather than later. You can tell it when you want it to begin. So you can see this was published by me, and then it was boosted. There's also been a share. So, and I'm going to share this morning to the Wainwright shared private group. And then I'm going to be asking folks to, asking Wainwright agents to go ahead and share it. So I'm going to click share to a group. I'm going to search for that Wainwright. Where is that? Oh, you know why? Because me personally, I'm a member of the Wainwright private Facebook group, not me, the business page. So I'm going to go up here and switch to act as me as a person, not me as the business page. And I'm going to share this to the private Wainwright Facebook group. And I'm going to say, please share. I'm going to post that, even though Miki thought I did that last night because I told her I was going to. Sorry, Miki. So now it is shared on the Facebook private group, and all of you guys can hop on there and share it to your pages. All right, who has questions about that before we move on to the next steps and other things to prepare yourself for the open house? Anybody? Okay, we're going to keep moving. So now it is, oh, yes, Miki.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, you're welcome. I woke up at like midnight and was like, oh, I forgot to share that to the Wainwright page.
It's okay. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who shares it. Super excited.
Good. And if you're free on Saturday, go see her,
Please.
Yes. Okay. So now we've decided to do our open house. We've gotten permission from the listing agent. We've had the listing agent put it on MLS. We have made a flyer in Canva, and that's a whole nother training session, but Miki just did it. And I think she'll attest to the fact that there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it really is not as hard as you think it's going to be. And once you've got that template down, you can just plop in pictures and change things as need be. So now you've made your flyer, you've shared it on Facebook, you've boosted it, you've shared it to the private Facebook group and asked other agents to share it. Now you're going to need to advertise it physically. So all of the municipalities in the area have a rule that you may have noticed. Let me say it this way. You may have noticed as you go through Salem, or you go through Roanoke County or Roanoke City, you don't see real estate signs except on the property. Every once in a while, you'll see one on a corner, but that's because the municipalities have rules about signage. You may not think you are the same as a mattress wholesale store or a cell phone company or somebody selling diet pills, but you are. That is advertising. And municipalities do not want every single street corner cluttered with 19 signs about we buy diabetic test strips. Okay. So we fall into the same category. We are advertising as well. We may think that our sign is more important than a mattress warehouse sign, but ultimately to the municipality, it is not. So that's why we don't see 27 yard signs leading you into the neighborhood and to the property. Okay. They will get snatched up and you will not get that sign back. So RVAR went to these municipalities as a whole and said, what if we develop a generic Roanoke Valley Association of Realtors directional sign? Would that be okay? And some of the municipalities said yes, and some said no. And I've got a cheat sheet for you that I can provide to you. But they have all decided that the day of the open house, you may have additional signage. So it means on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m., you're running out to throw out directional signs. But they have to be up the same day as the open house and taken down as the same day as the open house. And you may find that you really like to do open houses on Saturday from 2 to 4 or Sunday from 1 to 3. Go ahead and ask the sign factory here in town to make you some riders. And the rider just says, open house Sunday, 1 to 3. And then when the listing agent has given you permission to do an open house on their listing, ask them for permission to go put a sign rider up that says open house Sunday, 1 to 3. That's on the property. That can be up all week long. Okay. Remember to take it down, because you're going to have some irritated customers who swing by on Sunday from 1 to 3 and you're not working an open house because you forgot to take it down from the week before. Okay. But you can go ahead and put that on the yard sign and have that up all week long. That way the traffic that's driving by all week long knows there's going to be an open house Sunday from 1 to 3. Okay. So you can put signs up the day of, and you can put up as many as you wish. I would encourage you not to be horrendously obnoxious about it. And then make sure you pick all those signs up again as you're leaving your open house. Cookies, water. What are you taking to this open house? Are you taking anything to the open house? Well, during a pandemic, we're not really handing out anything, but it gives you an opportunity to be creative. Maybe you go to Sam's Club and you get individual, a case of individual trail mixes, Slim Jims. I don't care what you give out. If you feel like giving something out during the pandemic, and probably from this point forward, I think no one's going to be blowing on birthday candles anymore. I think we've all realized during a pandemic that was disgusting in the first place. And I don't know why it hadn't occurred to us. So I think there are going to be some things that don't go back the way they were. And that's probably okay. So homemade cookies might be one of those things. People might not want to take homemade cookies anymore, sad, but you may have to ask yourself if you would eat a cookie in an open house that a stranger made, and the pandemic may have changed people's minds about some of those types of things. So you may want to go ahead and start trying to brainstorm unique things that you can hand out instead. Okay. And that's only if you wish to hand something out. So that's a choice you're making. I'm going to tell you, I got all excited when I was a new agent and I was like, I'm going to do the pie pan with cinnamon oil and put it in the oven. And guess what? I spilled cinnamon oil all over their oven and had to clean it up. So now I don't do a lot of that stuff, you know? And now I kind of squeal in about 15 minutes before the open house starts because I've just done them so many times. I can just turn on all the lights, throw out my flyers, you know, and I've got a crate that's just got my open house stuff in it. You know, it's got a business card holder. It's got a flyer holder. And I just keep it in the car or keep it in a corner of my office and throw it in the back of my car. So get organized and it'll be much easier to do these on a regular basis. So you are going to want a flyer to hand out. And praise be, we have Canva, people. I have spent years paying for a flyer making program or learning Photoshop, or worst case scenario, using a flyer that our MLS makes. Our MLS will make flyers. They don't look good, so please don't use them. But Canva is free, already has templates made up. And if you don't even like those, for $2.99, you can go on Etsy and buy a bunch of Canva flyer templates, social media post templates. It is a very small investment to be able to very quickly churn out some great marketing material. So you need to be making a flyer to hand out. I don't hand out business cards at open houses. I have them in a rack. I rarely see anybody take them. I'm handing them the flyer about the house. And obviously all of my contact info is on there. And then lastly, I'm going to have that open house sign-in sheet. The one I use was from Etsy. I customized it off of Etsy. I bought a commercial license for it and customized it. So that is available to you. You're welcome to use it. You're welcome to make your own. There are some things on there that are going to be important. You've got to have the, just like any advertising, you got to have the logo. You've got, for the company, you've got to have fair housing and realtor disclosures on there. Our logo encompasses all of those things. So that's always a safe bet to put that on there. Just like I say online, you've got to have everything one click away disclosure wise. So it's very easy to just put our company website address on every bit of advertising you do. Not that you're trying to drive traffic to the Wainwright firm website. We don't care about that. But it covers you. You now know all those disclosures are one click away, no matter what. They click on that button, they're going to see the fair housing, the realtor disclosure, jurisdiction, firm name, all of that stuff. So that's why you'll see that on there. It's just a no-brainer, easy way to make sure you've covered your bases advertising wise. So now you're all set up. You've got to determine when in the conversation, and this is the part about working so many open houses, you'll get good at it. Sliding into the conversation, are you already working with an agent? You know, and you're going to have to figure out through trial and error what feels most comfortable to you in doing that. There are online open house scripts. That might be a nice place to start and just read through those scripts. Watching some or listening to some podcasts about working profitable open houses. If you go to our shared Google Drive, we have an entire training manual on conducting profitable open houses. That's the title of it. You can go read that manual, make notes, try it out. And then my Get Business Quick idea today is work an open house. If you haven't worked one, work one. And my closing remark about this before I open it up to questions and things you guys may want to share is safety. We have to be safe. I have worked hundreds and hundreds of open houses by myself. I don't do that anymore. I'm going to take someone with me. I'm going to have a fellow agent work the open house with me. I promise you that if you are going to be working an open house and you don't have anyone who can go with you, email me and I will find you someone to work that open house with you. Okay? It is not worth it, especially now that on social media, you are literally saying, hey, come on out today and see me all by myself in this vacant house where I'm trying to just be polite to everyone who walks in the door. It is not safe to work an open house by yourself. Okay. So please make sure someone's going with you. I don't care if it's your dad who you park in a chair reading his book in the corner of the room. Okay. My dad has done that dozens of times with me. It doesn't really matter who it is. Obviously, if they're not a real estate agent, they need to just sit, read a book, and not say anything. But I have one friend who I used to take, and I can't take her anymore because she was always trying to help me. And I was like, you're really not helping. Just go sit over there. Or get your license, one or the other. So that is my last point is please do not work open houses by yourself. I don't even like you showing houses to strangers by yourself. I certainly don't like you having an open house, inviting the entire community in to come see you while you're by yourself. Okay. Yes, Donna.
My first open house, I'm not a comfortable speaker. I don't do well with that. I'm not an extrovert. I mean, I enjoy talking to people once I know you. So my first one I did with Kara Moore, who was a seasoned agent. And so I didn't know what I was doing. So basically that helped me. I shadowed her. So I saw what she did, saw the approach she took, saw what she said, saw how she handled the ones coming in, helped a little bit with certain ones, but basically it was more of a shadowing type atmosphere. And then it allowed me to sort of take in some of what she did. And on my first one, it was a little easier. I was still awkward. I still had times where I didn't know what I was going to say, but I'd already done one. I'd already been at one, even though I didn't do a lot. I had been at one. So, and the taking, I take as, you know, not everybody knows my children, but I took my middle son. He's 18. So he is really good as far as helping me get things set up. He just sort of sits there, or he'll go into another room, or whatever. But, you know, it's that other person. If you don't have another agent, just like she said, get someone, you know, just to have another person there. So
Absolutely. And that is an excellent point. That also, if you'd like to shadow an agent who's working an open house, certainly you can email me and I can extend an invitation out to the firm to say, anybody working an open house and you wouldn't mind having a new agent shadow with you. I'm happy to do that. That's an excellent point, Donna. Yes, Rita.
Okay, I was going to ask you, can you have an open house at a property that's already under contract?
No, unfortunately, I believe that would end up, I mean, I would say yes and no, because you would be securing a backup offer. But I think people would be very irritated when they realized it was pending. And I think it could potentially be misleading if you didn't handle it, if you didn't handle it just right, you know, with all the marketing. So I probably would not recommend that being a good idea. Sometimes there's some real perfect houses, but they go under contract real fast. In the case of one of mine this weekend, I knew it was going to sell that weekend. So we put it on the market Friday morning. I put in the private remarks that we would be reviewing all offers on Monday. So I knew they would still have time to work that open house on Sunday and gain, you know, some unrepresented customers, because it wouldn't be sold until Monday. So yes, did you have something else, Rita?
Yes, I was going to ask you, now I'm not familiar with Canva.
Okay.
And so I don't know how to get there.
Oh gosh, you're going to love it. Jennifer, will you throw the link to Canva in the chat window, pretty please? Canva is just a free and paid for, you can upgrade to the premium version. It is just a free, essentially graphic arts design studio. And they have loaded already in there. You can just choose social media and there'll be Instagram, Facebook, and it will take you to templates that they already have available that are already made and sized and the right pixelation for those specific social media platforms.
Pretty simple.
Including flyers. And Miki, I'm hoping you're about to contribute because you just did one in Canva. Please.
Actually, I mean, it was very easy, very simple to create, but I was going to say, and I don't know if I'm in the wrong place, but there's a $12.99 monthly fee after the first 30 days. So maybe I went in the wrong way. because I didn't see where it was free, and you have to enter your credit card information in for when the 30 days expires.
I'm not aware of that, unless they've changed.
Perhaps that has changed. I went ahead and upgraded only because I use it so much. And I was paying, in the past, I was paying $60 a month for a company that would post social media content for me across all my social media platforms. And I was tired of paying for that. So upgrading my Canva account, even at $12.99 a month, was still a better deal for me than paying that company that was posting for me. However, I had been using Canva for free for a while before. I'm almost positive they still have a free version.
So the Canva Pro is $119 a year. If you want to do that, you can pay it all at once. I think it's a little cheaper, but let me I'm gonna, because I have the Canva Pro, so I can't see what the other options are online.
I'm going to you guys hang tight. I'm going to stop recording